What's up, Warriors fans? It's your main man, Max, here with Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button as I post new Warriors videos daily. Now, it's finally happened. Someone said what we've all been thinking, and it was none other than Jonathan Kuminga himself who said that he doesn't want to come back to Golden State. And for me, that's perfectly understandable, because he's never going to become that star that he's meant to be with the Warriors, because the Warriors just aren't the system where he can thrive, and it's important that he acknowledges that he just wants out. And that just leaves a sign-in trade as the only way the Warriors can get out of this, because he's not going to sign a deal with the team, and worst case scenario, he signs the qualifying offer and becomes an unrestricted free agent next year, and the Warriors lose him for nothing. Now, we look at the teams that were interested in him or are interested in him. You've got the Miami Heat, you've got the Chicago Bulls, you've got the Sacramento Kings, and you've got the Phoenix Suns. Now, out of those four, only two have made legitimate offers. The first being the Sacramento Kings. Now, we know what the Warriors want in any sign and trade for Jonathan Kuminga. They want a rotation player and a first-round pick. Now, we saw what the Kings offered. They offered their first-round pick from last year, Dario Saric, and 2 second-round picks. And let's be honest, the Kings are a dumpster fire of a franchise. They traded away their franchise player at the deadline in De'Aaron Fox, and they have no direction whatsoever. And even trading Kuminga there, he's not going to become the all-star that he needs to be. Yeah, you could trade him there out of spite, but I don't think the Warriors are that kind of organization where they will do that. Now, they could try and negotiate and up the offer, see what they can get, since I know they want Keegan Murray, but I honestly doubt that's going to happen, as the Kings are at least trying to be competitive. I mean, look at 2 years ago in 2023. That was the first time they made the playoffs since 2006. So they don't want that level of a drought to happen again. So I perfectly understand that. But with that, the other team that's made a legitimate offer out of the four I mentioned has been the Phoenix Suns. Now, the Phoenix Suns are easily the most interesting out of the four teams that want Jonathan Kuminga. And that's really because of the return the Warriors can get. Now, we know that they can't offer a first-round pick in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga. However, they can offer legitimate role players, and they also have a plethora of second-round picks to offer as well to go along with those rotation players. Now, we look at any trade that Jonathan Kuminga would be a part of to go to the Suns. And I put some real research into this last night, and we know Jonathan Kuminga wants $30 million a year. That's fine. But in return, and if you trade him out, I didn't realize this, if you trade him out, you can only take half of the salary back in exchange, which means the Warriors aren't going to get like a huge haul for Jonathan Kuminga, but they're going to get a decent one. And when it comes to what the Suns can offer, they can offer Royce O'Neal and Nick Richards for salary matching. And what the Warriors should do instead of going after a first-round pick is go after those 5 second-round picks that the Suns got in exchange for Kevin Durant. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, Max, those are second-round picks. Those don't mean anything. No. They're a bunch of scrubs as always. Now, back in the day, like maybe 5-6 years ago, I'd agree with you. But because of the new cap, and this is what my feelings on it, because of the new way the CBA works, I realized that second-round picks are a lot more valuable than first-round picks, because we look at those first-round picks, and we're like, okay, a lot of them are one-and-done guys, goose eggs, as I like to say, or Colin Cowherd once said, regarding young players coming to the league. You don't know what you're going to get when it comes to these young first-round picks. Unless they're a sure thing, it could go great or it could go really bad. And next thing you know, if it goes bad, you're stuck paying at maybe $5 to $6 to maybe $8 to $10, even $15 million a year for a player who's not going to become anything. Now, with second-round picks, as the years go on, and as the talent pool continues to grow, they're going to become more and more valuable. I eventually see the second round pick becoming equivalent to the NFL second round pick, where it's not as valuable as a first round pick, but it's still pretty darn valuable. And that's what I like. I looked at the Warriors' future picks. They have no second round picks until 2030. So those second round picks are going to be extremely valuable moving forward. And you add Royce O'Neal and Nick Richards, two rotation guys, that's going to be a big plus for the Warriors, because you look at those two. You don't think of them as, all right, those are part of an amazing haul. But if you look deeper into the numbers, I'm like, all right, I see what they're doing. You look at Royce O'Neal. He's a tweener, small forward, power forward who hit who hit over 40% from three last season, as well as didn't really need the ball to be effective both on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. You slot him in right at the starting small forward position and move Jimmy to the 2, boom, you've got a starter right there. Same goes for Nick Richards. He took some time to come along after being drafted out of Kentucky, but now he's a borderline double-double with averages, I believe it was 9 and 7 last year, and he almost had a 20-20 game in 20 points and 20 rebounds. And I'm like, yeah, that's something the Warriors definitely need moving forward, especially if they're going up against Minnesota, Oklahoma City. They're going up against the Clippers. They're going up against Houston, especially Houston. And they're going to go up against the Lakers, who now have DeAndre Ayton. And Nick Richards is that 7-footer. So I do like that. He is also an expiring contract. Now, we also know the Warriors were like, okay, we don't want to take on some bad contracts. Well, Royce O'Neal is only making $10 million a year, while Nick Richards is on an expiring $5 million a year contract. So that's great. But the essential part, as I said before, with any Suns trade is prying away those 5 second-round picks from the Suns. Now, like I said, I think that's easier said than done, but it is in the realm of possibility because the Suns, they have to remain competitive moving forward. And let's look at their roster right now. Their backcourt is Jalen Green and Devin Booker, two guys who are shooters. Now, when you have two guys who are shooters, you need a third guy that is basically a downhill player, which Jonathan Kuminga is, because he helps create space. And by creating that space, he opens up opportunities for Jalen Green at the 3, and he opens up opportunities for Devin Booker at the 3. So, in my mind, it's a win-win scenario for both the Warriors and the Suns. But we'll see if that happens. I honestly really hope it does. But in case it doesn't, there is another buy low prospect that's out there that I really didn't think about until I saw something on him in regards to his perseverance trying to get back in the NBA, and that's none other than Jahlil Okafor. Now, we know Jahlil. He came out, he did great his first season with the Sixers, averaging 18 and 8, which was solid because Joel Embiid was out, but it just went all downhill because he was playing behind Embiid. Bounced around the league a little bit, but he has persevered to keep trying to get back in the NBA. And in all honesty, that really accounts for something. That's the kind of player I want on the Warriors. Because if you get a guy who's just hungry, he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's a guy who just wants to be there. He will do anything. Because you look at him. He's a big guy. He was one of the most polished big men coming out of college I've ever seen. And by polished, I mean back to the basket polished. He was just doing everything right. And he led Duke to the title in 2015 during his freshman season. Now, yeah, things haven't worked out, but the fact that he's persevered over the last 10 years is all I need to know. He's put up great numbers in the G League, but I do think those will translate back to the NBA because he's proven he can play in this league. He just hasn't had the right opportunity. And as a 6'11" big man, he might not stretch the floor in the way the Warriors want, but say they bring in a guy like Al Horford, he still solves that problem of being a guy who can really body with the likes of Rudy Gobert, Isaiah Hartenstein, Alperen Sengun, Joker, and even DeAndre Ayton and Ivan Zubac as well, because he is just a big guy, and that's something the Warriors have seriously lacked since the days of Andrew Bogut and Zaza Pachulia. So giving him that opportunity is essential because he's going to provide that value whether you want it or not. And it's just, everybody loves a comeback story as well, especially when it comes to the Warriors. As I always remember, the We Believe team was one of the greatest teams I have ever watched in my entire life. And it just gets you excited because, like I say, America loves a comeback story, especially the Bay Area. So he's definitely a guy they need to take a serious look at. If not, just bring him into Santa Cruz and have him within the system so they could just maybe even sign him to a full deal if they don't go with, like, okay, the Nick Richards, Royce O'Neal trade or something similar to bring back a big man. Now, when it comes down to it, bottom line is the wheels are finally turning. Jonathan Kuminga made his statement. He doesn't want to be in the Bay Area anymore, and it's time to move him. Now, once he's moved, all the dominoes are going to start falling for the Warriors as they're going to make their signings, they're going to fill out the roster, make other trades to bring in other guys that will help them in their championship window. And the sooner that they make that trade for Jonathan Kuminga, the better. So I'm hoping they do it soon, and once they do it, I'm going to be excited to see what the Warriors can do after that. And that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button if you like what you heard. And if you didn't like what you hear, feel free to comment below, as I love to get into these debates in the comment section. And as always, go Dubs.